Good morning, buenos días, bon dia. It's a great pleasure to be here in our second webinar in this webinar cluster during this week about the medical education challenges at academic health centers. We are broadcasting through Facebook Live and also through YouTube. And also we will have the translated webinar in YouTube after we finish this meeting. Please, and we can show. Can we show the links for Facebook and YouTube? Here we have it. So here are the links. Aquí están los links para Facebook y YouTube. Also, let me remind you that in order to get the diploma for this webinar series, please register. Can we show? Here's the registration. I will give time to this, and also we will put it at the end also to register. So we, with 80% of assistance, we will provide you with a diploma certificate of this webinar cluster. So for me, it's a great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. And let me give you some context. I'm in a room that is called collaboration of teamwork. And this is what we are trying to promote through this webinar series. And somebody who has been working a lot on this is our associated dean for the School of Medicine and Health Science, Dr. Mildred Vanessa López Cabrera. What I can say about Mildred will be short. I'll always be short because she really is a very energetic leader. As I already mentioned, she's the associated dean, but she's involved in a lot of initiatives in medical education, not only in Monterrey Tech, that we are fortunate to have her here, but also in different associations, AMI, YAMSE, AMFEM, and other ones. She is a PhD in education and innovation. She has a master in quality, so quality is one of his strengths. But also, she's the co-editor of Revista Mexicana de Educación Médica. So I thank you very much for helping me in that task. He's really a researcher in medical education, has a lot of papers. He works with a lot of themes. He's one of the backbones of Modelo Tech 21 for health. So with no further words, let me give the space to Dr. Mildred Vanessa López. Please, Mildred, thank you very much for being here and being part of this webinar series. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jorge, for the wonderful presentation. It's a pleasure to be here. My fellow colleague, friends, how will 2024 be remembered in the years to come? Will humanity even remember the pandemic in 100, 200, 500 years? What will last? In words of the philosopher Roman Charismatic, making an analogy of the great cathedrals in the world, and how the people who envisioned them did not see those projects become a reality. For him, the antidote to the short-sightedness that we often see is to aspire to become good ancestors. Good morning, everyone. Special greeting to the authorities who are here with us. It is an honor to be here with you. Dr. Jorge, thank you very much for this invitation. Today, I want to reflect with you for 4 different challenges that I think we will face in the future. And I would like to invite you to reflect on this with the sight of being a good ancestors. The first one would be keeping up with technological advances. The second would be promoting interdisciplinary education. The third would be adapting to the changing healthcare landscape. And the fourth one will be enhancing cultural competency and diversity. Regarding the first challenge, I believe it's one of the most critical challenges for medical educators. That is staying current with the rapidly evolving technologies and trying to incorporate those into medical education. And this would include, for example, leveraging virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and other innovative tools to enhance teaching and learning experiences for future healthcare professionals. But why not for those that are already in practice? Teras and collaborators in 2020 challenged the status of educational technology a bit. They mentioned that most of the technology vendors or suppliers have flooded the market right now with solutions, and I'm making imaginary quotations in the air, because they have a solution for everything, even the problems that there no exist and the things that we don't need to buy. So it is based in the assumption that education is somehow broken and that the technology is like the silver masking tape that we use to fix everything. But that's not the reality. A good ancestor, or changing to a gaze of a good ancestor, would be becoming a champion to adopt, to try out those emerging technologies and incorporate them into teaching methods. In this article that we have on screen, I discuss it in more detail. Those educators that become early adopters, those that dare to explore the use of simulation tools and online platforms to create truly interactive and immersive learning experiences, are the good ancestors that we need in our academic health centers. It's through that exploration that they develop these skills or these competencies in flexibility and adaptability. Those are the things that we need right now. The second challenge that I want to reflect today with you is promoting interdisciplinary education. And I know that medical education traditionally focuses on specialized disciplines. So we have the pathologists, we have the immunologists, we have the ophthalmologists. And I'm sure that if I ask them today, they would say that the program doesn't have enough courses or time to reflect their own disciplines. They wouldn't have enough subjects, not assessments, and we would need 1 to 10 years more to have the appropriate curriculum, but that's another story. However, the future of educators, the future of healthcare demands a more interdisciplinary approach. Educators must find a way to foster collaboration and integration across multiple fields that seem otherwise irreconcilable, allowing students to understand this even in their training, to having this broader context of patient care and work effectively in multidisciplinary teams is a must. Ronald Harden already discussed this topic in its integration ladder, I think in 2000 or somewhere there. But still, in reality, it is more than a ladder. I remember this paper of SETI and Khan that I'm sharing in the screen right now, that they discuss it's more like a checkerboard. It's a checkerboard in which you advance in one square and then you integrate multidisciplinary in one subject, but then you move in another one that it's not as much of integrated. It's a negotiation, it's hard, but we must move to that place. Good ancestors focus not on the subjects or on the themes that must be in the curriculum, but rather foster relationships, not activities. And these relationships emerge when you actively promote interdisciplinary collaboration and integration within the curriculum. Also, when conditions are created around it for colleagues to interact from different disciplines, to develop joint educational initiatives, to have multidisciplinary case studies and collaborative learning experiences. It's often when you have a strong curricular change, like a really big project, that all the initiatives, that all the colleagues focus on solving the problem rather on the differences that they have between disciplines. So I'm going to move to the third challenge, which be adapting to the changing healthcare landscape. And we know it is constantly evolving due to the advances in research, in new treatment modalities, and changing healthcare policies. But medical educators must try to keep pace with these challenges and ensure that the curriculum or training programs in postgraduate reflect most of this up-to-date knowledge and the skills required for healthcare practitioners to provide quality of care. During the pandemic, we had the opportunity to experience it firsthand in this review article, Me Preparo para Ayudar. We shared those reflections and guidelines, and we offer guidelines for you to reflect on your own journey. The site of an excellent, a good ancestor would try to motivate for look to new ways in which we can collaborate. A good example would be the collaborations during the pandemic that we face, integrating both the public and the private collaborations. And I will try to close this discussion with a challenge that is most meaningful to me, which is to improve cultural competency and diversity. As societies become more diverse, medical educators face the challenge of fostering these cultural competencies among students and reflecting on their own professional values as well. In this article, we discuss this issue from three different levels. So at the individual level, healthcare professionals perform with principles that are essential to healthcare professionals. So I care for my patients and their families. But on the most collaborative sphere, there is the commitment that we have as professionals to guarantee the right to health. And finally, if we see the third sphere would be more on the corporate social responsibility that we have as healthcare providers. So fulfilling the KPIs of metrics of quality of care. But changing more to the perspective or the gaze of a good ancestors, it is imperative that we develop strategies most to promoting the deep understanding, the respects, the dignified care for both patients and their families regarding different ethnicities, cultures, or genders in plural. Only then is that we can ensure the future healthcare professionals are really equipped to provide culturally sensitive care and then address the health disparities effectively that we face in our context, Mexico, Latin America, and so forth, so on. And the commitment before us right now is to actually step up and to strengthen our ecosystem, not only in the educational side or only in the medical part, but the academic health center ecosystem that we know is deeply rich and complex. And it's in this ecosystem that we dare to dream of these cathedrals, to dream of the cathedrals with all the instruments, with all the incentives, with all the institute aligned finally to create value, not only for the monetary part or for the stakeholders, rather the value that we make for the communities we serve. And with every project that has a purpose, we dare to dream a future for 8 years more, for 80, 100 years more, for 2,000 years more. and I would pay to see that future. Thank you very much for having me today. Now I will have time for questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mildred. A lot of things to talk about it, and we have some questions also to our guests in Facebook and in YouTube. And let me actually start with that question. But let me, if we, before we get into the questions, if we can put the for those who are reaching the webinar, this registration form. Please fill that in order to have the certification. There's one question, and thank you, Adrian Aldaz. The question is, you know that the multidisciplinary teaching or learning is important, but what is the role that plays humanists within the education of the health professional? Can you give us some comments on that?
Thank you very much for the wonderful questions. First, I want to say hi to my dearest friend, Dr. Adrian Aldaz. We were actually colleagues in a training last year. And I know we discussed that on that seminar, but it's very important. Why we started doing what we love to do. For me, it's medical education. And it started because of family experience within the healthcare system. And I'm not sure if I already shared that with you, Dr. Jorge, but my mom got sick and she went to the hospital. And she had the worst experience with, it was a physician, it was not someone in training. And I said, why does that physician doesn't look like in the eye? Why is he on a rush to leave the room? Like, what will be more important than having a critical patient right now in bed after surgery? And I knew we could do better. I didn't dream a way in which I could help to do so. But through the years that I've been in the School of Medicine, I've been trying to be a sponsor of initiatives that, of course, we have the best physicians in the block, but how do we make them more human? It's through, the first one would be through modeling. We have great faculty members that model the values of the professions, and it's something that we aspire to become. But it's also to structure learning activities in which we help professionals not only gain the competencies, but to embrace the values, the attitudes, the competencies that together make someone be able to care for another human being. And it's not only the quantity of experiences that they will embrace, but it's through feedback. And feedback often comes in a way of tough feedback. I know that you believe you're doing it great, but you need to focus on this. You are not seeing someone in the eye. You are always looking to the phone or to your watch, and it portrays as you don't care for what you are experiencing right now. So it's through that tough feedback of the experience that can often come from someone that it's a near peer. It doesn't have to be a faculty member. It could be someone, a peer, so a fellow classmate that can provide feedback. But having the time to do so is what makes it to move forward steadily. And as we map this experience through the curriculums, it becomes more complex, it becomes more of a challenge, but it's in that way in which we can guarantee or rest safe that we are doing what we most do. Of course, there are many ways to show humanism in medicine. I can remember an example of Dr. Oscar, that he believes through music we can foster humanism in medicine, and that changes the focus from the outside, from portraying humanism in care to the self-care. So actually coming within, how you, even in the amount of time you dedicate to performing exercise, to having good nutrition, it's always, it's you start from yourself, you care of yourself, you fill this cup in the way that you are able to care for the other one. So thank you very much for the wonderful question, Dr. Adrian.
Yeah, I think this is a huge topic, and will be humanism. We need to pay more attention to that. Once we get into more, and we will move to that topic, that is technology transformation. Why is that? Because we need really to leverage the humanism in health professions, and but particularly as Dr. Mildred related to us through his personal experience, but also what we have seen in the practices, we need to promote these behaviors, this way of doing things. And one important role is who we choose as a role model for humanists. We need good examples of that, and encourage them, promote those examples. Because remember, once we are in our clinical training, besides the theoretical part, the highly technical, because it's very technical period of training, we also have these people who is a role model. And let me bring that. This is why it's very important. I'm trying to say aprendizaje vicarious learning, seeing other working, because we socialize the practice of the different disciplines. This is very important. Sometimes we don't pay attention how we socialize our practice, our disciplines. And when
we socialize the positive and the negative.
Both. We need to point out the good examples as well as the bad examples. I agree, Mildred, and say that way. No, we don't. And you give us beautiful examples of seeing to the eyes, facing the patient and the family, being there to support them. This old quote: "We cure when we can." But we stay with the patient every time that we support the patient. So, and the purpose of humanistic education is to produce, or the education of humanities in health science education, medical education, is to produce a humanistic professional. And you mentioned in one of the challenges, maybe, and I want to question on that, or have more thoughts on that, is precisely technology transformation. And technology transformation has a lot of potential. We, the early adopters, are very happy, but we need to look also into the risks, not to avoid them, not to avoid the digital transformation. That, my opinion, is that will happen. What we need to do in order to do that transformation properly. Can you comment on that, Millie?
Well, I'm really enthusiastic about technology. You have been my co-pilot in most of the crazy ideas that I pitched to you. And I remember one time especially that I came to present you with a virtual reality set. And you said, I know that it's good, and I know the seller is saying that it is good, but do we need it? And that at the moment felt like really rough. Of course we need it, but do we need it academically? Like, are we trying to push down the throat this virtual reality set or whatever technology that we have, or is it really solving a problem that we have? And is through identifying problems and then finding solutions that could be technological or could be really low tech, that the curriculum is actually moving forward and innovating or being innovative regarding improving the quality of how we teach and how we learn. On our previous interventions using technological solutions, I would reflect that if we are not able to assess an implementation, it was a waste of time because we don't know the baseline, how we were at the beginning, and if it was a change to better or a change to worse. Having that mindset has changed, I think, the School of Medicine and Health Sciences at Tec de Monterrey, in which we train a good amount of faculty members, not only in the technological part of adopting a technology, but rather to develop this muscle of becoming innovators on their own. Now they have this critical sight of the things that they're trying to sell us and the things that we actually need. The first interventions, I remember that we focus on satisfaction. So I think that's the first step of Kirkpatrick model. So we focus on the first reaction. Are you satisfied with this? So smiley faces or sad faces after the intervention. But as we develop this muscle, we start reflecting of, would it actually change behavior? Would it actually be something that can be translated to practice? And then trying to move to the last level of Kirkpatrick and mentioning, is it something that in 3 years, in 5 years, will translate to patient safety? Like, how am I using this technology not only for the lols or the fun of using this technology, but how can I translate it to the quality of teaching and the quality of care that we foster? And if that technology that we're using doesn't translate to that, it might end up being a waste of time and a waste of money.
Thank you, Lily. Let me just get into go through your wonderful presentation. You mentioned, and I'm relating this to ancestors. To be a good ancestor, it's a book that I also love, and I recommend to everybody read about it because it's really long thinking, long time thinking on that. It's about inspiration. But let me, if I can give you a perspective on this inspiration, not the personal inspiration of a new idea, not just that, better say, is how we get inspired in how we inspire others. What will be the recommendation? I know that junior faculty is here, and in these times of crisis, of a lot of questioning of why we do that, what is the purpose if the world is not really working, and that's part of the sense of why we put this webinar cluster through the glass, is to see through how to be inspired and how to inspire others, in particular in medical education, in this idea that we are helping another human being to become a health professional in order to serve others. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Thank you very much, Jorge. It's a wonderful reflection. It has been kind of my life mission in the past years. It became something that important regarding learning communities that it became my doctoral thesis. And through the interviews that I made with these wonderful participants that dedicated this time, I will be forever grateful that I found that it's the legacy what we are protecting. It's these family recipes of how we were trained that we want to give out as a wonderful gift to the next generation. Is not only the knowledge or the biomedical part of medicine, it's also the humanism. It's also how we become entrepreneurs. It's also how we transform the health system. It's also the dreams that we were not able to fulfill within our lifetime, the things that we inherit to the next generation. It's something that has not been found in other disciplines. What I've been reading is mostly in health, so it's in medicine. You often see it in nursery as well. It's dreamers that are healthcare professionals that often make the step further and become educators. I feel really inspired to be within medical education because, as you mentioned, we see everything coming against us. We see, for example, the pandemic. We see that everything is against us, and despite that, there were educators trying to change the status quo of saying, but we can do more. Like, I can do this on Zoom and I can do this on that. Clinical simulations that were online, or I can be given feedback through WhatsApp, or I could be given. And that innovation, I think, overcame the pandemic and has stayed as a good practice within our curriculums. I believe that these communities are not only of have medical educators work towards teaching and learning experiences for undergraduate programs, but I've been seeing an increase on how these learning communities help other medical educators become better at skills that they want to become better. So, for example, I mentioned the cultural competence. So, how do I become better of fostering this multiculturalism within my team? Or how do I foster this multiculturalism within my leadership position? Or how do I assess better with this side of having a culture as a competency? And it's not through the courses or the curriculums or the training or the conferences. Like, it's not something that would come to you in an hour and you will come out now empowered to do a change. It's through discussions within focus group, and it's on those coffee tables that you encourage a conversation with someone you don't know, that you get this idea, that you get this inspiration, that you move forward, that you get a little more fuel in this aspiring journey that keeps you going. But I think that it often happens unannounced, unplanned, and unstructured. And as leaders within the healthcare organizations, and especially those dedicated to training, we need to foster these experiences that they don't happen rather by chance, but rather by planning, but structured, having specialized lifelong learning focus and commitments in which we dedicate time, we dedicate resources, and we even declare it in our missions and our visions for the short and the medium time frame.
Thank you, Millie. And I will close this part of the question with a comment of Adriana, that's a friend of, who says, "Inspiring is for others people to see the best version of us." I think that's very powerful quote. Let me move at, and start to getting. We are getting close to the time, but still have time. About something that actually is part of what we are here. We are, well, this webinar series about challenges in medical education and academic health centers is precisely organized by the Alliance for Academic Health Centers, and we, the members who are in charge of those for these webinars every day, we are trying to collaborate to build up a network that supports each other, that share practices. And actually, at the beginning, as I said, I was very happy because the room because I'm in the main campus of Monterrey Tech here in Monterrey, and this room you can see behind me is the initial photograph when our founder Eugenio Garza Sada is signing, or they are discussing the foundation of Monterrey Tech, and and the quote says, "We promote the collaborative work." But doing this collaborative work in different cultural contexts, and that's the question, For example, we are all Latin America, but the Alliance for Academical Centers is worldwide, in which different cultural backgrounds take place. We cannot say that I'm not part of Latin America, and my point of view, the way I view the world is in some way marked by this my geographical, ethnical, socio-cultural influence that I have. So can you talk a little bit more the cultural competency, why it's so important in order to do collaborative work, in order to move forward among the different perspectives?
Well, that's a topic for sharing a coffee or a stronger beverage, Dr. Jorge. But we often think of culture of these strong labels or characteristic that often do not move. So, for example, my nationality. So Mildred is Mexican and all Mexicans are the same. But that's not true because it's more complex than that. I feel that some of my identities are stronger than the one of being Mexican. For example, being a female. Being a female in an academic world, it's a stronger identity that I have. Or being millennial would be a stronger identity that I have. Also, religion, or how was my upbringing, or the friends that I have, or the place where I live, or the religion that I profess. Also, if I became specialized later in psychology and then in cognitive psychology, those are labels that I have, and those deeply influence my beliefs, the way that I would solve problems, the way that I would relate to someone. So we have to battle that in our daily interactions, even where we are doing our presentation to get the board or convince the board to support the project. There will be 10 people in the room and there will be 20 different opinions regarding the project, and this doesn't have to do anything with the quality of the project or the KPIs or the money. It would have to do with everything else that it's outside. In the way that we're able to even have the right people come to the table and have the discussion, people that represent the interests of minorities and groups that have often been marginalized. For example, if we're having a discussion about the curriculum, of course, there will be the need to have professors there, pedagogy specialists. We will also need to have students and graduates, even aspiring students, because it's in that way that we have different profiles in which we would probably have, or we would bet to have the best solution or the best answer to the problem that we are facing, that is having a new curriculum. But if we, within those stakeholders that come to the table, also care to represent different genders, ethnicities, identities, we are able to represent everyone in the topics that we have in the curriculum, in the ways that we can develop, in the ways that we can assess it. Often we forget as well people that have a disability or a neurodiversity, and these are the questions that we should be doing in all the settings that we have influence. So I know that we are discussing right now rather the teaching and learning arena, but also in the leaderships that we have within our healthcare institutions, but also in the themes that and when I hire someone, in the teams that I'm fostering within, because then all the solutions, all the projects, all the initiatives that we will push will be biased if we don't encourage that diversity within. You know, I'm the champion for cultural diversity because it's something that I have lived in my own skin.
Yeah, and I think it's part of it's related to what we were discussing at the beginning. This humanistic approach, real humanist, is very sensitive for the different cultural difference. And when we say cultural, I like your approach that is more wide than just your ethnicity or your geographic origin. It's more on different identities, really a cultural sensitive, because identities are influence or influence, actually both work in both ways, influence the culture. So being cultural sensitive is really being a human being that is kind, that is open to hear the other one and try to understand from which part of the world, but I'm not talking about geographical, a different perspective to support that. And that's why we have this conversation, talk about the challenge that we face as academic health centers, the medical education challenges. That's the purpose of when we plan this with the Alliance of Academic Health Centers International, the chapter of Latin America. We want to bring the experts of different institutions that we are partners. So I want to thank you, Dr. Mildred López, better known as Millie, and for being here. But in addition to thanking you for being here, is for all the energy that you dedicate to medical education or health science profession. Really, how to say, you are a kind of force behind pushing a lot of projects, not just within the institution, as I mentioned in your introduction, outside. So thank you for being here. Just remember, for those who are haven't registered, we can here's the registration link in order to get your diploma for being here in this webinars. I want to thank you, the people in YouTube and the people in Facebook. In the name of Dr. Mildred López, I thank the congratulations to Millie. We have a lot of those. And for tomorrow, the same hour, tomorrow, the same channel, used to say in TV in Spanish, la misma hora, el mismo canal. Tomorrow we have an guest institution that is not member of the Alliance of Chemical Center, so we invite them to be part. And this with a wonderful speaker, Marcela Cisternas. She's the academic vice dean of the medical school of the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. La Católica is well known, as you know, is one of the most prestigious medical schools and university also in Latin America and all over the world. We thank the partnership that we have with them. So thank you everybody for being here. Has been a great pleasure to be with Dr. Mildred López, and see you tomorrow.